getting harder and harder to take a thumbnail picture. It would not let me upload a picture. Um, it would not let me upload a picture. Then I had to take the thumbnail picture. And just like the older I get, it's harder to find a picture that's good enough to put up. Okay, I have so much to do today. This live is probably going to just be just me making breakfast, basically, because I'm in the middle of a music project, and it's a single I'm working on, and I'm just like deep in this project. I'll get into that in just a second. I gotta make breakfast. I liked what I made last time. It's just eggs and spinach. I'm gonna turn this around. Man, it's getting hot in here. It's gonna be warm today. Yesterday, you could feel it started heating up. All of May, it was really kind of gray. May gray, just gray weather. Wasn't too hot. Wasn't too cold. It was nice, but yesterday it started to heat up. And you could feel it in the house. I don't have the AC on. I just had the windows open last night. And so I've been doing a Kerrygold. Kelly Gold butter. My single Pity Party just dropped yesterday. It's a vibe for sure. It's a vibe. I like the song. That's an old song I wrote a long time ago. Really, really long time ago. And I've been playing it off and on. Just more or less just playing the song kind of off and on, and I played it with some people and stuff, but it's just a song I wrote a long time ago. And I've been doing avocado oil lately, and it's great. It's good for your heart. It's a little healthier than vegetable oil, and it tastes really good. So yeah, I wanted to record Pity Party. I did record Pity Party when I was 21 years old, with this music project we were doing called Anjo Gang. And I don't know. I was using GarageBand for Anjo Gang too. There's like 45 songs that we published with Anjo Gang, and it's on this website. And I used to have the link to it, but anyways, there's this website, and it just plays the 45 songs. It's just been playing 24/7 for the last 20 years, and it's in a loop, and it just plays. So when you go on this website, it's playing the music. And I used to have the link. I remember we listened to some of those songs like 10 years later or something, or whatever, 12 years later. Very, very, very experimental. If you're just tuning in, I'm talking about this old music project I was in called Anjo Gang. It was kind of like after party, is after party recording sessions. That's exactly what it was. We had different musicians come in and contribute ideas or whatever instrument they played. Okay, so butter and oil is hot and melted. So I'm going to go ahead and get a couple eggs in here. I got to buy some eggs. I'm almost out. It's so quiet. I love living in the country. It's just perfectly quiet. No cars, nothing. Only thing you'll hear is maybe some dogs barking. That's it. Okay. I usually, when I cook, I get out 2 plates. It seems like I always need 2 plates. There's, like, this will be the plate that I plate my food on, and this, I guess, is my cooking plate. So I'll put, some spinach in here. I don't like just putting stuff on the counter, it just seems messy or something. So I just got the spinach at the grocery store the other day. It's pretty good. And I also like to kind of clean and pick up while I cook. So by having a second plate to do things on, it's easier to clean up after myself while I cook. For some reason, it's just organized better. Okay. Single life? I lived in Portland for 5 years, and I had my own apartment. I had 2 apartments. I had a 1-bedroom apartment for 2 years, and then I moved into a studio because I originally had the 1-bedroom apartment with a roommate, and when she moved out, it's just, I don't want to say it was too much space. It was nice to have the space. It was nice to have a bedroom and then go out of the bedroom into the hallway, even though it was a really small hallway. You can see old videos on YouTube. It was just a nice feeling to, I had pretty big bed, and it was just a feeling to go into another part of the apartment. But the studio I got was $200 less a month, and money was a factor, and I was just, the studio was a better location too, and it was higher up. I was higher up, more floors up than the 1-bedroom apartment, so it was kind of more of the experience. You're higher up, that had Providence Park, the train station, and I was a corner unit. I waited for that corner unit too. I remember they had a studio available right away, or they said, or the corner unit's going to be ready in 3 months, and I waited, and I'm glad I did, because the corner unit had bigger windows, and obviously you're only sharing, there's only a neighbor on one side of you, and then the corner unit the other side of the city. So in the world of apartments, corner units are the shit. So you're at the end of the hallway. You don't got as many people around you. So also, check this out. Hopefully it's not too late. I know I was talking a lot. Also, what I do when I do the eggs, boom, I get my spoon in there, and I kind of get that, I balance out that yolk a little bit, kind of throughout it all. That way when you're biting into your egg, it's not just such a two distinctive parts of the egg. Okay. So this is a great breakfast because it's fast. This is apartment city style right here. You're on the go. You don't have time to, do this whole thing. You don't want to eat too much anyways because you want to be moving quickly. And I don't know, I'm adding my spinach now. Adding my spinach. I think that's, yeah. I don't know, just feel like eating a lot at breakfasts. I don't know. I just heard a vehicle, like one vehicle just drove down the street. It sounded like a delivery vehicle. Hey, even Ginger, like, she's like, what the fuck is that? FedEx. That was FedEx. See what I mean now? All right, spinach cooks very quickly. I, do the spinach and eggs are done. Flipped it and reversed it. Oh my gosh. There's some of those like modern songs. How do you listen to that with your family, Like driving around with your mom and grandma and shit. I noticed that about, black culture is they will listen to like very promiscuous lyrics with their immediate family, their siblings, their parents, like very sexual lyrics. And it's, for whatever reason, it's just in their culture that's normal or okay, but I'm like, maybe not, I don't know. I don't think black people used to be like that, but okay. I better stop there. People are like, whoa, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Okay. So here we go. Flip it and reverse it. Okay, so spinach. I like this breakfast because it's so tasty. And spinach is, very healthy for you. It's a powerful vegetable. Very powerful. And eggs. I mean, come on, man. Protein. Eggs. Eggs are awesome. So now I'm gonna kind of put a little water in here. Cool that off. Again, I like to, I kind of like to clean up and pick up, while I cook, because, obviously you don't have too much stuff to do later. Okay, so I'm gonna do the final touches on this. Spilled a little egg there. Final touches on this breakfast here. Okay, so avocado oil, absolutely. This kitchen is so messy and dirty right now. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. So that's another reason why this live is going to be short. I have to clean this kitchen. Like, dishes need to be done. Yeah, the dishes need to be done. The counters need to be wiped off and cleared out. So another thing, I've been doing celery salt lately. It has less sodium. And it has more, celery salt has more of a, kind of like an earthy taste to it. It's not as salty as salt. So I will say that, if you're really big into that like salt taste, it almost tastes more. Is this out? It almost tastes more. There we go. Ground black pepper. It tastes more. Celery salt, I would say, it tastes a little bit more like an herb, like a salty, earthy herb. Okay. Here we go. This is it. That's the breakfast. I made one of these the last live I was in. I'm all trying to adjust the light and everything. I don't think it does that. So that's it. Ginger, she really does not like me going live. Oh, it's because I have food. No, Ginger, this is not the kind of food you like. Ginger, yeah, she's not really a fan of, cell phones for some reason. Ooh, I gotta make coffee too. Should I eat this first or make coffee? I should have made coffee while I was cooking. I usually do that. It's 12:15. I have to be at work at 3. I have to record music. I want to record for at least an hour. So if I wrap up this live at 12:45, I could record from basically 1 to 2:30. I don't have to be at work at 3. I could be there at 4 and just tell them I'm going to be an hour late easily. Or I could just fucking call in. Okay, so yeah, I basically have to wrap this live up pretty soon because I want to. So the song I'm recording now has a very. I always feel like I'm drinking a tall can of beer when I drink these. It has a very. Man, the song I'm recording now is probably the best song I've ever recorded or written. It has this 90s reggae vibe. It does. It has a 90s good vibe, reggae vibe. But it also sounds 80s kind of. But it kind of, like the chorus, it kind of sounds 80s though too. This is not the coffee mug I like. Yeah, it kind of sounds 80s. So it's very 90s reggae, but it has this 80s vibe. And it's almost a ballad. And I say a ballad because it's kind of a long song. I would say it's probably 4 minutes. It's probably a little over 4 minutes. It's fine. Just some little. It's like 2 little coffee grounds, like little specks of coffee grounds went in there when I shut it. But anyways, so it's got, it's a, it's a long song. It's sort of a long song. And I have the drums are probably 80% completed. The bass is 100% completed. I spent a lot of hours because this bass, it's kind of has that reggae. I mean, the bass is good on the song. The bass line is really good on the song. So I recorded the bass line and then I had to punch in and kind of redo some stuff. And I redid everything perfectly. So the bass is 100% done, and that took, multiple days, a lot of hours. I got to touch up the drums. And then I got a good amount of keyboards to do. And that's what I'll probably do today is I completed the keyboards for the first verse and the first chorus, but the second chorus, the keyboards are only kind of halfway finished. See that? Keyboards are kind of halfway finished. And so I have to complete the keyboards for the second chorus, which should only take about 30 or 40 minutes. I say that, it always ends up taking longer. But the reason I say that is because I have an idea of where they're going, because the keyboards are more or less going to be the same for the first course and the second course. So basically, I mean, I could just like copy and paste, but I don't like doing that because I like to do things a little differently on each part of the song. So, I mean, normal producers would just copy the keyboards for the chorus, the little square of keyboards for the chorus, and just move it over to the next chorus. Done. Sounds perfect. Everything's the same. But I like to record it again because I might want to play it a little differently, you know, and mix it up a little bit. Keep it organic. Keep it authentic, y'all. Keep it authentic, y'all. I'm doing less sugar. I've been just dumping sugar and coffee and kratom and all sorts of stuff. And so what I do now is I'll just pour out like a little sugar like that. That way there's only so much to put in, so I might ration it, you know, just a little sugar in the coffee. Because if this thing's full, I'll just go. Okay. Oh, this coffee's gonna be good. Dude, my grandma's so awesome. She's the one that bought these. And I remember, I forget where we were, in Walmart or Costco or something. But she's like, we need little coffee stirs. I'm all, what? No, we don't. We don't need that at all. But I use them all the time for all sorts of beverages and stuff. And it's like, grandmas just know shit. They know shit. They really do. And every time she says, you know, like this, you know, the wires were hanging out here, and she's like, you're going to shock yourself. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah, I've been using that charger for a year with the wires open, and sure enough, I grab it. I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, put some electric tape around it. It's like, oh, grandma's right again. Woo! Coffee's good. We're waking up for the day. Ginger! It's going to be a great summer, y'all. It's going to be a good summer because I've been jogging regularly, and that is crucial for me to do. So I've been running almost every day, probably about 5 days a week, and not super long runs, but 3-mile runs out in the country. And I got some areas where I go where there's a lot of, you know, uphill and stuff. So it's a good 3-mile jog. All right, so now my coffee's done. So another thing I like about, look at this breakfast. Oh yeah. Doesn't get better than that. Simple, people. It's all about the simple. It's all about the simple stuff. Something influencers are unable to fully grasp because they're always trying to do some extraordinary thing to gather a little more attention and worth, for their brand. And then all these, hold on, I've got to turn off the lights. Turn on those little side lights. Then you have all these fake masculine gurus. There's all these people on YouTube and social platforms acting like they've cracked the code, how to be successful, and they're always trying to keep up with the times. Like, oh, it's not about just working out. You got to stretch too, and it's about what you eat. And now it's they're trying to be spiritual too. It's like, oh man, it's like, what about the animals? Did you ever think about that part? Taking care of animals and conservation of land and animals. That's a big part of being in harmony. Animals and land, nature. Forgot about that part. Everything's about, digital currency. Followers. I mean, what a stupid science that is. How many followers can you get? Especially, most of these followers are all fake. And, it is cool to see people's content from, other countries and stuff. But, I mean, there's a lot of people in this world that have it's not like they have little in life, but they're not American. So everything is smaller in their world. Their kitchen is smaller. The kitchen is outdated. Appliances are outdated. They probably eat better than us. They might be happier. That is so good. The avocado oil, the celery salt, the butter, the pepper. It just all mixes up really good with the spinach and eggs. I just feel kind of bad for these people in other countries that follow American influencers. I feel like once you cross that line, damn, that spinach is bomb. Really though. Once you cross that line where you make that decision that being a content creator is going to be your job, and you got a management team, trying to manage and increase your followers so you could get, handouts and you could promote brands and stuff. It's just, you basically become a brand whore. For lack of better words. And you're also held hostage by the group conscious. Because if you start speaking against refined sugar, processed sugar, which is a $1 trillion industry, like, can we have some influencers and rock stars and celebrities start speaking against the poison that's put in all the food and the alcohol? Alcohol is a $600 million a day business in just Los Angeles. $600 million a day in just Los Angeles. You know, there's 20 million people that live in LA. A lot of these drinks, you know, 15, 10 bucks. You know, do the math. You have half of those people having a $10 drink every day. 10 million times 10, that's if they just have one drink. No wonder my buddy at the Greek Orthodox Church is in the wine industry. Seems like he's doing well. I'm like, what do you do for a living, dude? He's like, I just sell wine to restaurants and stuff. I'm like, really? Is there any money into that? He's like, yeah, man. It's like, Google it, you know? So what's in alcohol? Sugar. You know, it's fermented sugar. They add fermented sugar in that shit. Sugar, processed sugar, grain. Mix it up, ferment it. I mean, there's some alcohol that's on the healthier side, like kombucha, which is the gayest fucking thing in the world. Like, what are you drinking? It's a kombucha. It's just retarded sounding. It's like 0.4% alcohol. There's a little bit more alcohol than a non-alcoholic beer. It's like, dude, that shit will make me fucking tired. There's such a small trace of alcohol in it, man. That'll wipe me out. So just drink a beer, please. But this is good for my digestive system. It's a kombucha. Okay. Damn, that was good. Damn, that was good. Holy fuck. Ah. Woo. Ready for the big ride, baby. Get out of my way, Ginger. Fuck. Always around me. Woo. That was a good breakfast. Just 2 eggs and spinach. Kelly Gold butter, avocado oil, 2 eggs, spinach, fry the spinach. Come here, Ginger. Look at me like that. Make me feel bad. And then celery, salt, and pepper. Just basic ingredients. That breakfast probably cost me, including the gas to go get the eggs and the spinach, probably cost me like 50 cents, like 40 cents, maybe 45 cents. 45 to 60 cents. Well, including the gas, maybe $1. Yeah, but anyways, that breakfast, that's like $1. That breakfast cost me more or less $1. And it was so tasty. And it took, 15 minutes to make. And that's because I was talking the entire time. So if you were just really focused on making the breakfast, probably make that breakfast in 5 minutes for $1. Yeah, but refined corn syrup, it's refined sugar. It's, maybe whatever, a $200 million a day business, and it's not good for people. Sugar is the leading cause to most ailments, diabetes, glaucoma, cancer, gingivitis, dementia, Alzheimer's, all of it is because of sugar, basically. Good job, Ginger. You found a little spot. She's like, this is a good spot for me. And she just, that's so cute. She's tucked in. She tucks right next to me. Good job, Ginger. But yeah, you never hear, the influencers and celebrities and rock stars talk about refined sugar because they're not paid to. So you basically are held hostage to your followers, which are mostly bot accounts. Because 80% of you have 80% of bot accounts are your followers. Let's be honest, and then those numbers impress the 20% of real people that are following you. So then, hence the word, you influence the 20% with your 80% of fake followers. And alls you have to do is just lose your soul for that. And then out of the 20% of real followers, maybe only like 5% of them are Americans. So you have these major influencers with, say, 5 million followers. Well, only 500,000 of those followers are actually real Americans. You know what I mean? So you start thinking of it like that. That's why I try to unfollow, most influencers. I started following Pearson last night. She's sometimes fun to follow, but still, let's be honest, fake shit. She sees fucking dolphins in the ocean. She's like, oh my God, wow, it's just so fake. So fucking fake. Nobody sees dolphins and acts like that. I feel bad for her though. Brent started dating that Asian chick. That's gotta hurt, man. That happens a lot in America, where American men, he's a young man, but he's a man, a young guy, they leave their American girlfriend or wife for an Asian girl. That's been happening since the fucking 60s and the 70s. But back in those days, you could be like ostracized for that, because segregation was only like 10 years behind that. But it happens all the time, and so, Brent's at the ocean, drawing hearts in the sand with his girlfriend, and then there's Pearson, looking at dolphins on a boat. It's just weird. The whole thing's weird. The whole thing is weird. Like influencers, the fact that they put their lives out there, and now it's like a lot of it is staged, and like when two influencers start like hanging out, people think they're dating, but it's just almost like a business collaboration. Just like when I was in bands and the Christian alternative music scene, you would have like our bass player for our band, The Discarded, he joined Head Noise, which was a bigger Christian punk rock band. They were more, 100 people would come to our shows and they would play, and there'd be like 800 people going. So they were a few notches up. And so anyways, that's the kind of how it is with the influencers. It's like, it would be like me, someone that has 1,500 followers on Instagram, collaborating with Pearson or Lexi's friend Kay, who's fucking hot. They have more followers than me, but if I collaborated with them, it would be, I'd probably have to sign something. No, but I was going to say these influencers are burnout, but I'm trying to be careful what I say. Lexi's friends being burnout. Burnout bitches. Burnout drunk bitches at a bar, fucking Nat 2's fucking bellies hanging out over the bar, just looking all sloppy drunk and shit. It's just, and that's the thing, is a lot of these influencers are trying to be authentic, so they'll wear like normal clothes, loose fitting older jeans, and they try to take pictures that shows the imperfections in their body, and they try to be like, oh look, we're just normal people, well, that's all part of the show because they have whatever 4 million followers. Nat 2 K has like 1 million followers, maybe not even that close, but and they're trying to appeal to the $20 an hour people, and it's manipulative because they're basically they're like manipulating people's emotions to make them seem like worth it, basically. Like, oh, we're gonna let you influence us because you seem like you're a $20 an hour fucking regular bitch that drinks and does regular shit, girls' night out, has sushi. We're gonna try to support you. I gotta heat this coffee up, but it's just so. But you can't blame an influencer for having a bunch of followers. I mean, obviously they have a management team, a manager. That's what influencers have. They have managers, and so it's not even really them. You're following a brand that is under manipulation, basically. So it's really not authentic at all. And they spend so much time watching people like me doing normal cool shit, and then they basically do what people like I do. Things that I do, they do like a month or 2 months later with their evil fucking energy to it. Okay, I gotta heat up my coffee. Motherfucking brand whores. Brand whores. Woo! Fucking burning up in this bitch. I'm about to turn on the AC. Ugh. I do have to go for a jog. It's 12:41, people. I did have a topic I wanted to get into, and I'll get into it. So in America, I used to hang out with, I wouldn't say he was my buddy, but he was a church buddy at a Orthodox church. I'll keep the church anonymous, but anyways, the guy I'm talking about, he was the final signature, meaning you could not get into the LAPD unless, topic jump, you cannot get into the LAPD unless he signed you in, meaning there's 9 steps to get into the LAPD. Lie detector tests, you have to do qualifiers, you have to do LAPD workouts, you have to do second interviews, all this crap. 9 steps. And after you do those 9 steps, there's one person that decides, I'm going to sign for this person to make him an LAPD officer. And that person was a gentleman that went to my church. So we probably only hung out at church maybe 5 or 6 times or whatever. But you could tell he was a powerful man. You could just, I remember I was 29 or 30 at the time. I had a cell phone, and you could just tell he was it kind of made, he would make you nervous, you could tell he could probably fucking kill someone and use the police to do it. He was that kind of powerful. But anyways, he was the final signature to become an LAPD officer. I swear to God, I had this was going into my topic right now, but it's not lining up right now. It's not making sense. Hold on. Why did I bring that up? Something about, I don't know, influencers, or there's something about that. Well, there was a lot of celebrities that went to that church, and I met a lot of celebrities. I swear to God, there was I was going somewhere with that, and I totally forgot. Something about something. Something about alcohol or influencers or something. I don't know. Reality show, K. I don't know. K. Oh my gosh. Asian girls. This is what happens when you smoke weed for 15 years. You're just like, what the fuck was I just thinking about? No, yeah, no, but really, so I was gonna say, was it some of Brent, Asian girl? Oh, yeah, that's what it was. It's okay. Sorry. Um, so he was telling me, this guy has been in the LAPD for like 40 years, like during like the 80s and the 90s, during all the fucking crazy shit, like the LA in the 80s and 90s. I mean, if you've ever seen a movie, an action movie from the 80s and 90s in LA, I mean, that's what they were making those movies about, was Los Angeles. I mean, it was totally different beast. And he lived through that, And so anyways, he said what happens is cops marry like trophy wives, trophy girlfriends when they're like 22, 21 years old. They marry some super fucking hot blonde bitch from whatever the town they grew up in LA or whatever. LA was different in the 80s and 90s. There's a lot more white people. It was like half white, half not white. Now it's like 85% not white, 15% white. So anyways, so back in those days, like a lot of cops were white, I'm not throwing shade on the department. It's just how it was, LAPD was notoriously like a white racist fucking police department. In the 80s and 90s, they're not like that really anymore because over half of their cops are fucking Mexican or south of the border. Okay. So, God damn, that fucking coffee's good. Okay, so anyways, he said he's seen this happen like hundreds of fucking times with the police officers. Is they marry some trophy girlfriend when they're like 22, and he said in 50% of them, there's like 9,000 or 11,000 fucking police officers back in the 80s and 90s in LA. He said about half of them, like thousands of these motherfuckers that married their trophy wives, they would fucking pump out some kids. The wives would, pretty soon they're 40 years old. The wife's bigger. The wife's already had 3 kids. They've been with this chick for like 20 fucking years. It's like 20 Christmases. It's like, okay, we've been together for a long time. Anyways, he said half of them would divorce their wives, cash their wives out, and they would remarry some fucking waitress, some Vietnamese waitress that was like 22 years old, or some Filipino girl that was fucking like 24, or some fucking Mexican chick that they met somewhere. And he said all of them fucking remarried at about between 40 and 45 years old. They divorced their wife of 20 years and fucking remarry some fucking waitress that's 20 years younger. He says all of them fucking do that. And they all fucking, the wife gets the house, gets like half their money and shit. And so this is basically, Brent just did that like quicker than most men. So normally, like if Brent was a police officer and wasn't an influencer, if he was like a normal fucking dude, he uses his firefighting connections through his father, gets into the police force. Oh, your dad's retired firefighter? Fuck yeah, you can become a cop. Fucking boom, sign you in. You're a police officer. He marries fucking Pearson, his high school sweetheart. He's a police officer at 23 years old, graduates the academy, marries Pearson. They have a kid at 25, 26. And right around when the kid's like 17, 18 years old, 19 or 20 years old, the kid's going in college. All of a sudden, fucking Brent leaves Pearson at 45 years old. Fucking remarries some fucking like model Mexican chick that's like 24, 20 years younger than Pearson. And that would normally be his life if it wasn't for social platforms, but he decided to become an influencer at a young age, and that was kind of like his path he chose. So he basically skipped the marrying Pearson part, skipped the having kids with Pearson part, and married the fucking Japanese supermodel. She's kind of hot, I will admit. She's fucking pretty hot, especially when she wears like little black skirts. Yeah, so I've dated a bunch of Asian chicks. I used to have yellow fever, and it's funny, when I had yellow fever, I don't know if that's a correct term to use. I'm sorry, I'm 41 years old, so I'm a little outdated with what's appropriate. So I had yellow fever when I was 19 years old, 20 years old, 21 years old. And especially when I was like 18, 19, 20, 21. So I had Asian girlfriends like crazy. I was dating Asian girlfriends like left and right. I was 19, you know, I was lived in South Korea, been to Japan multiple times. You know, it was easy for me to talk to Korean girls. There's a lot of Korean girls in LA, okay? There's a huge Korean community in Los Angeles. And so I'm like speaking the language. It's, you know, I'm this hipster fucking 19-year-old. It was easy for me to talk to Korean girls. You know, I start talking to them in Korean and they're like, oh, fuck, I could actually introduce you to my parents. You speak the language, you know the culture, you know to bow to older people. When an older person hands you something, you use two hands to receive it. I lived in Korea. I had an apartment in Korea. So anyways, it was to the point where even asked like my older friends, you know, Justin Willits from Justin Random Land, asked my friends when I was like 17, 18, 19 years old, I only fucking dated Asian girls. If you weren't Asian, I wouldn't fucking date you. I don't care how fucking hot you were. And there was chicks that were very attractive that wanted to date me. And I would, you know, I only would date Asian girls, you know, strictly. You know, I had this Filipino fucking girlfriend for a short while when I was 16. She was crazy, crazy fucking hot. Crazy. And she was a punk rocker. She wore like little fucking white skirts and bondage belts. And she was like super like petite with the perfect body. That shit was fucking ridiculous. Anyways, I pissed her off. We broke up. And I remember I ran into her again like 10 years later when I was like 26 in Fullerton. I ran into her and we smoked a bowl in her car. And I tried to get back with her. She's all, I have a boyfriend now. Like a total fucking, like, fuck you, basically. You know who you are. No, you were hot. I was 16. I was stupid. I should have fucking just married her ass. Didn't get too much hotter than that. I remember she had a scar on her stomach, just like this crazy fucking scar. But I mean, she was still so fucking incredibly hot that it did not even matter that she had a scar. And I remember, because I was like, at that age, I was 16, so I was still kind of in the Christian community, and she was I was going to secular punk rock shows, so I was like dating these like non-Christian punk rock girls, and she was one of them. Well, she's the only girl I was seeing at that time, but she's Filipino, and I remember I met her at Chain Reaction. She used to be called Public Storage, but I met her at Chain Reaction. I forget who's playing, the Adolescents, fucking Agent Orange, I don't fucking know. But some band was playing. I remember we were hanging out in that little like side alley and we're fucking drinking beers and shit. I was 16. She was like 19 or something. And I looked basically like Sid Vicious, which is probably why she liked me. And like literally looked exactly like Sid Vicious, my hair and everything, how I dress. So anyways, so man, it's been story time. The last like 3 or 4 lives I've done, I don't know if I'm going through an early midlife crisis, but I'm just thinking a lot of when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Those years were just incredible. It was just over, like every fucking day was just awesome for like 7 years in a row. So I know I'm not going to be able to capture it like I had it, like you got it like that. You know, I know that. I'm not like delusional, you know. I know I'm not going to be able to hang out at punk rock shows and drink all the time and fucking hook up with Asian punk rock chicks. I know I don't even think I have like the energy or mental focus to do that now, but I did do that. So anyways, it's just, you know, I think what I'm getting at is influencers and relationships. It's so fake and weird, you know. And now the whole thing for influencers is that like their whole thing is to marry an athlete, like that's in, you know. Back in the day, you would want to date an actor or like a fucking rock star. And now it's more Republican and more powerful to date a fucking baseball player or a hockey player or a football player, someone that's an athlete, because they're also wealthy, but they're physical, you know, so they're like doing athletic shit. So it's more of like a noble thing, you know. It's like you're fucking, even if you date a rock star and they're super fucking wealthy, it's still like, dude, you're dating a fucking freak, you know. Let's be honest, you know. Or an actor, like, oh, you're dating an actor, you know. That was so 90s, so cliche. So like the whole thing, you know, Taylor Swift dating, you know, an athlete. but athletes are great. I'm an athlete. I would have been an athlete if I didn't get so into punk rock. But I played soccer 4 years in a row on teams, actual soccer league, for kids, obviously. But I was incredibly good at soccer. Um, I was a left wing, a left forward, because I'm left legged. So I was on the left side of the field, and I was fucking, we were, dominating like most of, I basically, not to be arrogant, but I was just fucking dominating everybody on the soccer field, when I was 8 years old, 9 years old. Um, so I should have just done soccer. I was so fucking good at soccer. It was insane. I should have just played soccer the rest of my life, but then I got into guitar and taekwondo, could never fucking stick with it, with anything long enough, just, but, let's see. Oh my fucking God. Ugh. Fucking burning up. It's coffee. Yeah, growing up in the early 90s as a young kid was cool. It was actually an incredible... growing up in Southern California, specifically Orange County, greater Los Angeles area, in the early 90s was probably the best place to grow up in the entire fucking world. Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, skate parks, early 90s vibe. Let's be honest, the early 90s, like if you watched a movie, a film, or a music, I don't know about a music video, but if you watched any TV or any movie in the early 90s, you would think it's from the 80s for sure. Guarantee you, if you put on a TV show or a movie from even 1994, you would say to yourself, this has gotta be from the 80s. So anyways, even though I was born in 1985, so I was 9 years old in 1994, it was so 80s. The vibe was so 80s in 94. It was a little more industrial, I will admit. It had a more of an intellectual, industrial, liberal vibe in 94, but it was still so much of that 80s undercurrent that it didn't even matter that it was layered with, what was coming, which was the late 90s. Fucking Interview with the Vampire. Long hair was still going strong in the 90s, okay? Don't get that twisted. I mean, all our celebrities, everybody was rocking long hair in the late 90s. Some of them were cutting it, like, hey, get with the times, dude. Cut the fucking hair. It's not 1988 anymore. Cut your fucking long hair. Woo! That's a natural herbal. Okay, so music, though, I would say music, even in the early 90s, you were able to tell musically that the 80s were finished, especially the early 90s. You had grunge music and Soundgarden and Mudhoney and all these. You could tell music was in a different era. There was different genres. Music has advanced, but for whatever reason, movies and TV didn't really get out of the 80s till about 96, I would say. 96 and 97, meaning the first half of that decade, it just seemed very 80s. And, my mom was this bigwig in the tourist department at an amusement park. I'll just say it, Knott's Berry Farm. Mom tried to be anonymous, and like my mom was this huge figure at this place. No, but she was in charge of the tourist division the tourist department at Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Farm is a legendary amusement park, if you don't know, in Buena Park, California. Like locals, like a lot of us, prefer Knott's Berry Farm over Disneyland. And then obviously Disneyland has more of a global appreciation. And so anyways, the fact that she was in charge of the tourist department at Knott's Berry Farm, when I was a child, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, she worked there till I was, 14. And even after she wasn't even working there, she still got, just because she knew everybody in the industry. Anyways, okay, long story short, I had a drawer in the apartment. We lived in Anaheim, grew up in Anaheim. And in this drawer, this was the drawer. We called it the drawer. It had everything you would want, as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old. We had stacks of Regal and movie tickets, AMC, Regal, just, like a stack of 50. So anytime I wanted to go to the movies, if I wanted to, I'm 13 years old, I want to go on a date with a girl, it's like I just grab a few of those movie tickets out of the drawer. We had stacks this high. Well, the drawer was only this wide, so we had stacks like this high of Knott's Berry Farm tickets. Just, 200 fucking Knott's Berry Farm tickets. I actually, when I got older, I started, trading those tickets and stuff and doing things with those tickets. Because we had so many. We had so many tickets to Knott's Berry Farm. It was insane. It's got to the point where even, I would, you want to go to Knott's Berry Farm with your family? Here's 7 tickets, on the house, thanks to the right family. It's like, I was like Knott's Berry Farm king growing up. Okay, so Red Lobster. Just tons of Red Lobster restaurants. Any restaurant, like all the good restaurants, we had like the free meals, or coupons, like with if buy a meal get a meal for free kind of stuff. If it wasn't a free, it was some kind of like perk or coupon or something where you go and you buy like a fucking appetizer and then you get like an entree for free or whatever, some crap like that. So we was going to Red Lobster a lot because for whatever reason she had the hook at Red Lobster. Medieval Times. So one of her best friends was owned the Medieval Times in Buena Park, California. There's like that little entertainment strip on Beach Boulevard. And so I was always on Beach Boulevard, and so she would just call her friend like, hey, my son and 4 of his friends are going to Medieval Times tonight. Oh, what's his name? Trevor, right? Okay, comp him. So I'd go to Medieval Times all the fucking time. I love Medieval Times. I really like that show. And then afterwards, you look at all the swords and the cases, and they have like the little club thing with the music. I was always going to Medieval Times like a lot. So anyways, I just, basically would just give him my name, free Medieval Times. I was at Knott's Berry Farm probably every other day for about 7 years straight, from 8 years old to like 14, I was at Knott's Berry Farm almost every day, especially during summers. We basically would just hang out there all day long through the skater years. You hook up with the chick on the dinosaur ride, it's like all slow moving and dark, you meet some girl, you make out with her, we did that for like years. So my childhood, even though we weren't wealthy because we had an apartment, so we were technically like middle class, so like probably lower middle class, but because of my mom's job, we had fucking Universal Studio tickets. We had 20 of those in the drawer at all times. Disneyland tickets were a little harder to get, but we still had those. So we'd have like 200 Knott's Berry Farm tickets, 20 Universal Studio tickets, 100 movie tickets, and then we'd have like 4 Disneyland tickets. Those were always like a few. It was like harder to get Disneyland tickets, but we would still go to Disneyland. Probably go to Disneyland maybe like once or twice a year because I just didn't really like Disneyland. I mean, that was, I don't know. When we went to Disneyland, Disneyland. We went to Disneyland. We So when Justin and I, my high school mate, when we went to Disneyland, when we were even later in life, when I was 16 or 17, we still got all that same free shit I did when cause my mom worked there for 20 years, so she knew everybody in the industry. She still does. She knows everybody at Disneyland, everybody. She knows everybody everywhere. So and they still meet up. Like they still do their Knott's Berry Farm, dinners and shit, even though she hasn't worked there in probably like 15 years. So, anyways, Justin and I, we go to Disneyland and we'd hang out at the McDonald's. We're punk rockers, leather jacket, mohawks. So we had admission to Disneyland, but we'd like hang out at McDonald's for 3 hours or whatever, and then go into Disneyland for 2 hours, and go back to McDonald's. Like, why the fuck? Was that some MK Ultra shit? Like, what are we doing? We're 16 years old and we're at McDonald's for 5 hours straight. What? I'm trying to process the logic behind that. But I remember one time I went with Richard and Alicia. Richard was cool because he was one of the guys that broke out of the Christian alternative music scene kind of early, like I did. Meaning we were, 15, 16 years old, smoking weed, listening to Led Zeppelin, say more like 16. Actually, sorry, not 15, 16, 17. So like 16, I was drinking. I started drinking. 15 and 16, drinking. And then 17, started smoking weed, which you grow up in the Christian Orange County, music scene. You smoking weed is like pure fucking evil, So anyways, I'm smoking weed and Richard's smoking weed, and I have an apartment with my buddy Josiah. We have an apartment in Anaheim, and we're having literally kegers. I'm 17 years old. Josiah's 19. We're having kegers. Keg fucking parties. And so we had some people from the Christian music scene. They would kind of trickle in, they'd kind of come and judge us for a few hours before leaving, but they would come in. But some of them would drink. Like Justin would drink. Justin was cool. Justin, he started drinking too. I remember Justin got so hungover. Josiah and I and our parties went for days. We would get a kegger and we'd have a party Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It would just go forever, And I remember Justin, he went to this Japanese sushi place that we would all go to sometimes because we were able to drink there. They're fucking Asian, they don't know the laws of the land, they're just fucking Japanese people making sushi. You want sake, fucking sushi, whatever. Soju is what we had though. We drank soju at this, it's a Japanese sushi place, but it was ran by Koreans. And anyways, so Justin's at this Japanese place drinking all this soju for fucking hours. And then he comes to the party at like whatever midnight or whatever, super late, and we're all fucking. We got Bob Marley playing, we got the fucking kegers, we're smoking weed, it's a fucking secular fucking party, we're having so much fun. And Justin comes in with I don't know, forget who he's with, but anyways, and he starts drinking beer after drinking all of that soju, and he gets so fucking sick that he seriously went into the bathroom. We had 2 bathrooms. He took over one bathroom and he fucking was puking in the toilet for hours. And then in the morning, I go into the bathroom and he's hugging the toilet, like he's in fetal position, and he's just hugging the toilet. And I'm like, dude, are you okay? Fuck, dude, I was like, fuck, you got hungover, and I'm I feel great, just drinking beer. And, but yeah, I always remember he got super hungover that night. Ugh. Those were good parties. When you're young, again, like I said the other live, before cell phones. This was before social media. I don't know. Maybe some people had cell phones, but they were flip phones, and all you could do is maybe text or call people. This is before apps and before social platforms. Years, at least 3 or 4 years before Facebook. And anyways, I wish, there were social platforms at that time, because I would be fucking taking a picture of Justin on the floor, hugging the toilet. I would be, taking a picture of the kegs, everybody at the party. We have some pictures, actual, port, Portorola pictures of those parties. And it looks so ancient. We'd have, we had like a Goodfellas poster. We had Bob Marley posters, like Led Zeppelin, The Doors. Our apartment looked so, even though it was early, early 2000, it was like 2002. So it's 2002, but you look at some of these pictures of our apartment, it looks like it was like 1992. We're all in flannel shirts and jeans, and we have fucking just old couches and like Grateful Dead posters. It looks so fucking outdated, it looks right out of the movie Dazed and Confused. It's like when that movie came out in the 90s and they're trying to do the 70s thing. Well, back in the early 2000s, there was this wave where everyone got into 70s. I mean, we were even wearing bell bottoms. I mean, so yeah, it really looked like a scene from Dazed and Confused. I mean, we're in bell bottoms. I had fucking like the Doors shirt on or whatever. I don't think I was wearing a Doors shirt, but I might as well have been. A Beatles, I think, yeah, I had the Beatles shirt, bell bottoms, and like a beanie. Yeah, I just looked so fucking like 90s, even though it was 2002, 2003. But, that was, we were not punk rockers really anymore at that time. We were legitimately hipsters, the definition of hipsters. Before, that was even a few years before hipster was even a thing, So I remember later in life when I was like 21 and 22 and Hold Me Like a Gun with Desiree, then we were really fucking hipsters. I mean, we were legitimately LA fucking club going hipsters. But when we were like 17 and 18, that was kind of a little bit before anybody was called a hipster. Phones turned around if anybody said hi or if anybody said any comment. I don't see it. So I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just up here giving kind of my testimony and some tidbits, some thoughts on just a few things. I am deep. Ginger! Okay. I just want to make sure you're okay, baby. Usually she's all over me. Make sure I didn't leave a door open or something. She was sleeping. I'm sorry. She was like, oh, what? She's like, you talked me to sleep. So, I'm gonna heat my coffee up. Yeah, I'm so deep in this song that I'm recording right now. Ah, man, it's such the vibe. And honestly, this song the vibe of this song that I'm recording right now, and I'm probably about like 65% done with this song, or I'm about 65%. So it's, like I said, it has this 90s reggae vibe. It's got this chill kind of stoner 90s reggae vibe. It's not a fast song. It's not super slow, but it's like, it's fucking, it's slowish. Slowish. So, but it's got there's an 80s undercurrent. There really is. Musically, there's an 80s undercurrent, especially with the fucking keyboards. It's got this synth wave 80s undercurrent with the music, but like the bass, the melody line, the lyrics has such a mid to late 90s vibe. And anyways, the song, I'll be obviously dropping the name and a promo of the song probably in 3 or 4 days. I have at least 20 hours left on this song, judging from how I do things and how I've recorded things in the past. So I have probably got a good maybe 20 hours left of working on this song. So maybe in like 3 or 4 days, I'll drop, a promo maybe at least drop maybe the name. Anyways, I have the artwork already. I got lucky and I took this picture last night when I was driving that wolf spider down the street. And anyways, I just took this picture. It was I got lucky. You know, every now and then you take a picture and just the way it hits the lights and everything, it was one of those pictures that I wasn't even aiming at anything. It was a picture in between the picture kind of thing. Anyways, I got the image for this song and I got lucky on that one. And I'm about 20 hours away from completing this single. And so I had Pity Party dropped yesterday. I like Pity Party, and I'm okay with not everybody liking that song because it's a vibe. It's got dark vibes. Okay, it's one minor chord after another minor chord. I don't think that song has one major chord in it. So it's, it's like B minor, B derivative, 7 minor to A minor, to E minor. It's just minor, it's minor chords. So the whole song's fucking minor chords, which is appropriate because it's called Pity Party. And I looked up on YouTube and there's like 5 different people that have written Pity Party songs and they're all, I don't want to say they're pop trash or I don't want to say they're shitty. I'm not going to talk shit on people's music, but it's just, all I'm going to say is I wrote Pity Party 20 years ago. That's all I'm going to say. So I know there's a lot of different pity parties on YouTube, but, I'm probably the first person that ever technically wrote a song called Pity Party since I wrote that song 20 years ago, and I have old recordings of that song to prove it. So anyways, kind of the first person who ever wrote a song, or I am the first person who ever wrote a song called Pity Party. So it's got a lot of minor chords, shitload of minor chords. It's got the melody line is very melodic. It's not a pop song. Okay, let's put it that way. It's dark wave. It's got this late 90s dark wave vibe. 5 minutes and 2 seconds. I think the song is 5 minutes and 2 seconds. Anyways, that song dropped last night. It's streaming now on Spotify. You can purchase it on Amazon Music, or you can stream it for free on Spotify or listen to it on YouTube. And then I have Jenna's in a Paper Dress, which is it's rockabilly. So Jenna's in a Paper Dress, I really like that song. It's rockabilly, but it's got this 90s pop punk vibe. Total, especially the chorus. It's got a 90s pop punk vibe, but it's also 80s rockabilly. That song is going to drop in 3 days, and it's just about it's just about a young girl, a young lady that is playing country music. That's all it's about. It's about a young lady that's playing country music, and it's like all super good vibes, all the lyrics and everything. It's always like the dumb shit that gets noticed, and I feel like that song is dumb enough to be liked by people. So Jenna's in a Paper Dress, 80s rockabilly with the meets 90s pop punk. That's dropping in 3 days. And then, here we go. 5. Bam! 5 is a 6-song EP that I'm dropping on June 6th. So in 4 days, my 6-song EP is dropping. So I think 4 of the songs on 5 I've already published, but all the songs have been revised, remastered. There's even lyrics that are different. So like example, Rocking Out. Rocking Out is a song that's already published. But Rocking Out is going to be on 5, but it's like upgraded everything. I've remixed it, remastered it. It's going to have better shelf life. So all the songs on 5, example, The Time of Flowers, it's got new lyrics, it's got like keyboards, it's got other drums, remastered, revised. So The Time of Flowers is, it's already published, but The Time of Flowers on the 6-song EP is way way better. It's way better. So each song on 5, I spent a lot of hours. Probably if you added all the hours from all 6 songs on 5, probably around 300 to 400 hours, maybe even more. That's being gracious. So there's a lot of hours I put into 5. A lot of work. It's work that I like to do though, but it is work sometimes. As a recording artist and a songwriter, even though I wouldn't even say it's my passion. It's just what I do. I've been writing and playing music for so long, since I was a kid. Started playing guitar when I was 6 years old, and had like the little mini kid guitar. I was writing music at 9, 10 years old, and I was in a performing band at 12 years old, The Discarded. I was literally playing concerts when I was 12 years old. Concerts in front of hundreds of people, and everybody in my band was 16 years old, and I was the kid. I've always been the kid. Seriously. Like, even in The Discarded, my first band, I was 12. Everybody else was 16, 17. People were getting their fucking driver's license, and I was 12. And then even when I was like hanging out in Fullerton with all the older hipster, the music crowd, the bar community in Fullerton. I was 19 and 20 years old, bar hopping. Everybody was 30, 29, 31. So I was the young person in that group, and I was also the young person in the Christian alternative music scene. So it seems like I'm always the young gun in all my groups of friends, which I don't know if that's always a good thing, because I always feel like the kid. And so even now I'm 41, but I still feel like the young person even, but I'm not really that young anymore. I'm 41 years old. That's not really that young, but because every group of friend I've ever had, I've always been at least 5 or 6 years younger than everybody. It's just always made me feel like, basically the kid. So, 5, 7. Okay. So 5 drops on June 6th, and put a lot of work into that album. So like I was saying, songwriting is what I do. And yes, sometimes it is a passion, but still it feels like work sometimes, just like I'm sure influencers, Pearson, Brent, it's always going to be Pearson and Brent for some reason. So, Justin is a great example. My buddy Justin Random Land. He's a great little buffer. People are like, whoa, he's talking about all these huge influencers. And it's like, oh, but he's friends with Justin at least. It's my claim to fame, people. I know Justin, dude. We hung out for like all the time for years. So anyways, it's a lot of work. When you make content, Jay Dyer probably knows that. It is a lot of work. And I love to throw shade on influencers, and I think everybody kind of does. But it is a lot of fucking work to sit there and edit a fucking video for 5 hours straight. And it doesn't matter what you do, just like with writing and recording music, once you publish something or you drop something on a social platform, you're always watching it a few days later going, oh, I should have, made that a little shorter, or I should have fixed that, or I should have done that, or, oh, that would have been great if I'd done that. So it's making content is also an art form, because you're constantly kind of improving it. Maybe, I don't know. Sometimes when it comes to Brant and Lexi and stuff, it seems like I don't know if they're even putting any conscious thought in any of their content. It seems, which is a skill, because when you're doing things off the cuff, and it's like playing live, or it's like jamming. If you're a musician and if you've ever gotten with other musicians, you're just making shit up and you're just jamming and you're freestyling. That's an art form of its own. What I do is orchestrated songwriting. I'm composing music. It's structured. But then, like, the way I do content is kind of, more or less, freestyle, where I don't really put any fucking thought into it. there's effort. You're sitting around. There's a lot of effort. Jay Dyer, might put a lot of effort into his topics, but a lot of his shit's freestyle. He's live. Live is fucking freestyle. A lot of these influencers, you'll never see them go live for more than 5 minutes because they'll start looking and sounding like a fucking idiot, like everybody does. And they don't know how to go live. They don't know how to present themselves, present their character live. Because if they say something wrong or something, they have so many fucking followers that more's online. If they fuck up or say something wrong, it could impact their brand. Me, I don't really have any subscribers. I have 500 subscribers. So I'm up here fucking saying whatever the fuck I want to say, Jay Dyer, he's been going live for so long, doing debates, freestyle lives. He's been doing that for so many years that he's just good at it. I'm sure you could go back on some of his stuff from 5-6 years ago, and I'm sure he's, made mistakes, and I'm sure people have called him on those mistakes, and I'm sure he would even admit that, oh yeah, I said this and that was stupid or whatever. But I mean, he's pretty good. I would say he's almost at the Joe Rogan skill level. Now, I know he doesn't have, how many subscribers does Joe Rogan have? Like, whatever, 20 million or something, 10 million. So I know he doesn't have, that many subscribers compared to Joe Rogan, obviously, because his topics are not going to be topics for mainstream society. But his skill level, I think, he's pretty calm, cool, and collective. I would say his skill level is about as good as Joe Rogan. I'm going to heat my coffee up. And I really do have to get into the music. Okay. Hey, what's up, Sam Gloves? He's got the gloves on. He's got surgical gloves on. He's crazy. Hold on. I'm sorry. I didn't read this till right now. Okay. That's weird. I don't know what that guy's talking about, disposable gloves and stuff. I'm not getting Okay, Sam Gloves. Well, hey, at least his name, it says Sam Gloves. So yeah, cleanliness is godliness, but I just think your comments are, for whatever reason, I don't get a bad vibe from your comments. And normally I would do when people start commenting about disposable surgical gloves and watching your video with you would think that's super weird and creepy, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's your profile pic, but I'm not getting bad vibes from you, man. You kind of look like a serial killer, but no, I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, I don't want to be rude, but he said he would want to watch my live stream, but he has to put on like surgical gloves or something. It's like, is that like low key a threat or something? No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah. So I'm gonna heat my coffee up. Ginger's like, woo, he's almost done. It's time to play. So yeah, 5 drops in 4 days. 6-song EP. I was gonna say it's got hipster vibes. That's like the stupidest thing you could ever say. It's got hipster vibes, dude. Speaking of vibes, look, I'm from SoCal, y'all. Yeah, Southern California. All right, Huntington Beach. Amp World's from Huntington Beach. It's like, well, I'm from fucking Anaheim. What's up? Got you there. I'm sorry, but Anaheim, I think, has more of a hardcore reputation than Huntington Beach. Well, actually, I don't know. Huntington Beach had such a problem with, like, the skinhead, like, neo-Nazis, basically, that they outlawed. You literally can't even dress like a skinhead at Huntington Beach. They had such a problem with neo-Nazis in the 90s that if you walk around with, your Fred Perry jacket and your suspenders and your fucking whatever, I forget all the brands that they have, but and you got your boots and you got your 14-hole fucking boots with your white straight laces and your fucking Doc Martens on and or you got your Dickies on and you got your bomber jacket on and shit with fucking the fucking Constitution stapled on the back or whatever. You can't even. Okay, so in America, you have the freedom to basically dress however you want, but they had such a bad skinhead problem. Let's be clear, a neo-Nazi skinhead, which is different than traditional skinheads, but they dress almost identical. But anyways, you can't even dress like that in Huntington Beach. You could literally get a misdemeanor. That's crazy. I think that's like the only place in the country where you legally cannot dress like a fucking Nazi. Everywhere else, you could dress like a fucking Nazi. Doesn't mean you are a Nazi. I mean, there's more skinheads out there that are anti-racist, called sharps. Skinheads against racial prejudice. There's more skinheads out there like that than there are. Like really, there's no more. Like neo-Nazis would be like the metal militia guys. I mean, there's like the real Nazis don't really dress like Nazis anymore. They dress, like whatever, like big trucks and metal militia. I don't fucking know. The fucking S on the helmet with the skull. I don't fucking know. But no, anyways, I was just saying, like, because Anaheim, I mean, we have Disneyland, so Huntington Beach is cool. We used to actually take so me and my skater friend, Eric Gerwig, shout out, what's up? He was like my bestie when I was, 5th grade, 6th grade. So we would go to Knott's Berry Farm a lot. I love Eric, I do. We're friends and stuff, but I mean, we don't talk all the time, but I mean, we're older, but I really do love him, so. Good guy. We had a good group of friends. Well, I don't know. We were kind of actually bad kids. I'm not going to lie. We were little fucking shitheads. But okay, anyways. So we were skaters, skateboarders. I was a skater before I got into the punk rock scene. So we were totally skaters. We'd hang out at skate shops and skate parks. Stuff. Anyways, we would take the bus to Beach Boulevard from where we lived in Anaheim. And then we take the bus all the way down fucking Beach Boulevard. It's a long bus drive, but when you're fucking like 11 years old, it's fun. And then we would go to Huntington Beach Skate Park. There's always tons of pros that would skate there. We'd go to Huntington Beach High School. We would skate there. We would go to the pier, Ruby. We'd fucking Huntington Beach. We do the whole fucking Huntington Beach thing. But I feel like there's kind of, for whatever reason, I think Huntington Beach and Anaheim and Fullerton, they're kind of like sister cities in a way. Even though Huntington Beach is a lot farther away from Anaheim and Fullerton, but like Anaheim and Fullerton, they're like brothers and sisters. And like Huntington Beach would be like a cousin. Right? I mean, come on. If you're from Southern California, I think you'd agree. So Huntington Beach would be like a cousin. And then cities like Long Beach and Hollywood and stuff, that would be like mother-in-law. Like father-in-law, where they're like not related at all, but there is, obviously connection because they're both Southern California, but they're not blood related. But yeah, anyways, Orange Circle. I love the Orange Circle. I love Fullerton. I love Anaheim. I mean, these are the towns I grew up in. I mean, I have deep roots in these cities, and but obviously I was in Portland for 5 years. Man, being in Portland, you just know I'm from California, just the way I talked and stuff. It's just I like Portland and stuff, but it was very clear that I was someone from California living in Portland. And then North Arizona is cool, where I'm at now, but North Arizona it's truck country. It's cowboy. It's fucking country and western around here, boy. It's only country. This place kind of seems like Montana a little bit when I lived in Montana, where I feel like I'm not going to say anything like, I don't know, it's just very country. It's truck country. It's very country and western. But there is like kind of a lot of Mexicans where I live, but see, the Mexicans here are different because they're actually from Mexico. So they're like farmers and they listen to mariachi. They're not Americanized at all. So they're like very nice and cool. Where in Southern California, they're like different types of Mexicans. And then there's the white Mexicans, like the Rivera family. I know they're like half Mexican or whatever, but they seem so white. They really do. And there's a lot of those people in California where you have like the Mexican Americans and then you have like the white Mexicans where you almost can't even tell. That's how some of them are. But anyways, so let's see. Yeah, it's 1:30. So I should work on my music a little bit. I feel like I have an Armenian friend. She's been my friend for a long time. And she's married, she's Orthodox, like I'm Eastern Orthodox, and she's Armenian Orthodox, which is technically Oriental Orthodox. I don't know why you think they would just be like under the same. They're like Greek Orthodox, but anyways, Armenian Orthodox is Greek Orthodox. They're more likely to have other types of people in their community, but the Armenian Orthodox is fucking Armenian Orthodox. And anyway, so she's an opera singer. She's a singer. But what was I gonna say about her? Anyway, she likes to talk a lot too. She rambles a lot in a good way, but she okay, so 1 hour and 36 minutes. It's pretty good live. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I gotta say. Oh, I was sorry. I was talked about London, when I traveled to London multiple times when I was younger. Also, the second time when I went with Aisha, Justin, and Matt, we almost got robbed by a gang of Pakistanis. And what they did, and it worked, is like this Pakistani girl went up and started talking to me. And she's hot, like gorgeous Middle Eastern girl. And I'm fucking talking with her, and I'm, totally engaged in a conversation. And then, and then the police came up, and the police were like, police told the girl, get the fuck out of here. Oi, get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And I'm just like, whoa, out of nowhere. It's like a girl. And then the police told me and Justin Aisha, and they're like, you almost just got robbed. He's like, that's what they do. They're like, there was literally a gang of like 10 Pakistani dudes that were just about to jump your ass and take your fucking passport, your money, and everything. I'm like, are you fucking serious? He's like, yeah, that's what they do. They send like a fucking Pakistani girl to talk to you for 10 minutes, and then they just fucking jump your ass. And I was like, but anyways, that also happened. That happened in London too. I forgot to mention that. That was in my notes, and I skimmed over it. But it was crazy because then like I was like, damn, actually that was kind of shady. Like that really attractive girl just randomly coming up and talking to me and shit. And then I believe the police officer, and I was like, thank you. I mean, we wouldn't have saw that coming, Fucking save that was like some Masonic protection right there, man. It was like saved my fucking ass. It's like, all right. So, anyways, whew, man, that coffee's going. Okay, so I got to work on it. I don't have to work on this song, but see, the way I work on music, I know what I got to do, but it's a vibe, it's art. It's art. So, I'm not going to, be like, I have to record from 1 to 3 today, no matter what. Though I did talk to my buddy in LA. I got a buddy in LA, and he's on so many major fucking records and stuff. He's a genius musician. He's genius piano player. He's actually incredible. He's kind of re-sparked me to start playing music again. His name's Chris, and I remember I think I started following him back at my first apartment in Portland. It was like 5-6 years ago. But anyways, I remember he'd go live for like an hour, and he'd play piano, and he'd sing different songs, and he was just so expressive. And I was like, really, like, man, this guy's great. He's a really good musician. And anyways, I think he kind of sparked me to start, playing music again. I started, writing music. It was kind of a slow process to get back into music. So I was at my first apartment, the 1-bedroom apartment. You could see, videos of me playing guitar and writing music and stuff. That's when I wrote Don't Have To. Don't have to try so hard to make it in this world. Don't have to work so hard to do the things you love to do. So I wrote that song in Portland at my first apartment, and that's when I first started getting back into music. Sarah left. Probably smart. No, smart. No, she's cool. I don't have any resentments towards her. I didn't. Yeah, I was like a little upset when I saw she was dating somebody else, but I don't have. I have like zero resentments towards her. If anything, I learned a lot from her. She's great. She's a great person. So, anyways, she left. I had the guitar. I had the apartment. She got another apartment. She knew I wouldn't be able to fucking qualify for anything. So she's like, well, I'm going to leave you the apartment because you're not going to be able to get one without me. So she went, she got another apartment. I fucking took over the apartment, took over the lease, and then started writing music, started playing old music. Yeah, I was recording I was just recording little demos, or I don't even know if they're called demos, but I was recording stuff on my phone in Portland. They're on YouTube. I mean, I talk about this shit like it was 30 years ago, but it was, 5 or 6 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. They're on YouTube. Anybody who watches this, you could just go through my videos, go to Trevor Write Music, and old fucking Portland music stuff I was doing. It's kind of trippy. I don't want to say it was dark, but it was kind of dark. I was really into masonry at that time and into occultism. I was really into occultism. And even before I moved to Portland, there was this, time in my life from like 32, even in San Dimas, I was getting in. I just got into, they call them seekers. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but anyways, I got into the occult section and just started really like not only practicing ritual magic, but also studying it, getting books. Back in those days, when you go to Barnes and Nobles, I'm gonna sit down, fucking walking in a circle. I'm pacing. I pace all the time. Sometimes at night, I will pace for like 4 hours straight, just thinking about stuff. But anyway, so back in the day, it was called the Central section. No, I'm sorry. Okay, Barnes and Nobles. Back when I was in San Dimas and in Southern California, I was going to Barnes and Nobles. I was like, fucking losing it, man. And that was probably the only thing keeping me together. But I go to Barnes and Nobles and they had an occult section. It was called Occult. It was the occult section, literally occult. And I'm like, this is great. I had all these books. So I'd sit there and I'd get a coffee and I would just read about occultism for hours. And I did that all the time, almost every day. But then now, when you go to Barnes and Nobles, they changed it from the occult section to the supernatural section. That's so stupid, man. They should have kept it the same. That's so cool, like the occult section, but the supernatural section, I don't know. I don't know why they renamed it, but yeah, I was getting, into, because when you read about magic and occultism, you learn how to do magic. And the thing about that, a lot of people young practitioners, they don't know that when you're doing a spell or ritual work, what you do might not come into fruition. It might not come into being for like years later. Like I've done like graveyard magic work before, and I've had some bad fucking things happen. Like not good things, so a lot of times if you're doing, you got to be careful with magic, because if you're doing ritual magic with unhealthy intentions, then that shit could fucking backfire on your life or someone's life around you. So I remember like really bad shit would be happening to like, not really sometimes to myself, but to other people. Like it's like an X, okay? It's like the body's an X. So when your like left shoulder's hurting, you want to like work your right foot. Okay, so everything is an X, right? That's how it is with magic too. So sometimes you'll be doing like magic, you want something, or you're trying to do some sort of magic here, but then it affects something negatively, like up here in like a total different area in life. So I don't even fuck with magic at all anymore, any kind of ritual magic. I mean, I do some stuff Because when you're born, you're kind of born with abilities. You know, I come from my great grandma's psychic. I mean, heavily like psychic to the point where like agencies would come and interview her and be like, "Ma'am, how did you know this airplane was going to go down and all these people were going to die? And you called the fucking airport a week before saying this airline's going to go down and all these people are going to die." So then like the FBI would be interviewing her, like how, and she'd tell them, "I'm fucking psychic. This is real shit that would happen." She would go to Vegas and win for 4 days straight and start winning $10,000-$15,000 a day back in like the fucking 30s and 40s. You know, back in the day, she'd go to the casino, early Las Vegas, and they would go, "Ma'am, are you psychic?" And she'd say, "Yes, honey, I am psychic." You know, she's this old lady, you know, Southern accent or whatever. So, and so they would be like, "Ma'am, you can't gamble here," because she would just be winning nonstop. She would, and then her father held seances. So her father, people would travel on horse and wagon through state lines to pay him to find missing things. And he had a black top hat. So he'd take off his black top hat and he would look in his hat and he'd be able to find any item. So one couple, they couldn't find a very expensive wedding ring, you know, gold, diamonds, very expensive and meant a lot to them. So they went and traveled to my great-great-grandfather, and he looked in his top hat and he was like, "Your wedding ring is in the northwest corner of the barn under the hay." Zach, this is like true stories, or this is all stuff that actually happened. And so I think about the story. I'm like, maybe like the dog got it or something and put it under there. That's what I'm thinking. Or maybe the wife was working and the ring fell off while she was moving hay. But anyways, they horse and wagoned all the way back to their state, you know, like, and went to their barn in the northwest corner of the barn, looked under the hay, and the wedding ring was there. So yeah, it's in my family. A lot of times I just know stuff. I know I'll say some crazy shit and then it fucking happens. Detailed. Like I'll think of just, I don't want to give examples, but just, okay, this happens to me a lot. So I'm at the Highbrow, and there's this dive bar in North Pomona. It's right by Claremont. It's called the Highbrow. And I go and sit in there. I haven't been in there in like years. And I just sit next to this lady. I order a drink. She's drinking. I sit down next to this lady, and I look at her, and I'm like, "How's your daughter?" And she just fucking starts crying, like uncontrollably crying. And she's like, "My daughter died 21 years ago to this day." You know, this lady's like an older lady in her 60s. So her daughter died when she's like 21 years old or 20 years old. I forget her age. But anyways, it just like came out of my mouth. "How's your daughter doing?" You know, I didn't even know that her daughter died. I don't know this lady. I've never met her. You know, so I've had this stuff kind of happen to me like almost my entire life, you know. So whatever kind of psychic stuff I have in my family, it's passed to me. So sometimes I will do things with like items, and I place items a certain way, and I do certain things a certain way, but that's not part of that occultism I practice. So when I practiced and learned about magic and tried ritual magic, that always seemed like it had a negative effect. But when I do things just like how I naturally do them, it's not negative. It's just people do things, and it's not unusual to place things, you know, just like people will have their religious altars and they place certain things certain ways they want to place them, and they have certain types of incense, and they do their prayers a certain way, and they do things a certain way. That's intuition. That's spiritual intuition. And that's normal. I mean, people do stuff like that. That's not like unusual. What's unusual is when you talk about it. When you talk about it live on YouTube, then it's fucking weird. And a lot of people do. A lot of like occultist kind of type spiritual people, they go on YouTube and talk about their shit live, and it's fucking weird to normal people. But it's not that weird because everybody knows that they do certain things a certain way. They cook food a certain way. they place items a certain way. Everybody has their way of doing things because there's energy. Energy is involved in things mean things, colors mean things, words mean things, items, elements, everything has an energy and sort of a cause and effect. Okay, I'm gonna heat my coffee up and I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Yeah, I've had a lot of bizarre stuff happen, where I'll just start talking about like a country, some like random fucking country or some random city is on my mind and I'll start talking about it, and then like 3 days later some like crazy ass fucking thing happens in that city or country. And that's because we kind of are all connected. So the people with this gift, it's not like they're talented or anything. It's just for whatever reason their antennas to the universe are like clicked up a notch and they're able to pick up signals clearer than other people. Everybody has these antennas, but some people it's more sensitive than other people. And it's not always, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's something to be proud of. It's just how it is. Yeah, so that's on one side of my family. Well, it's a lot of on my mom's side. But my mom has two parents, so that's all that psychic stuff was. So my mom's dad on his side of the family, but then on the other side, on my mom's mom, my grandma, she's got like some crazy shit too. So it's on both sides of the family. And then let's actually bring out the picture. Yeah, I'm almost done, Ginger. I play with you. We're gonna go on a W in a little bit. Get that seat. Here we go. So this is my great grandma. This is my great grandma Flossie, and she was in the Eastern Star. So she was in the Eastern Star her whole life down in Orange County. And she was, she held a high title. I'm not going to say they're like a coven or a magical group, but they kind of seem like that, because maybe, I don't know, maybe they are fraternity, women's fraternity, but Eastern Star is a female branch of Freemasonry. So she was in a high position of the Eastern Star her entire life. She's a jazz singer. She's a baritone jazz singer. And so she was in the Eastern Star. Now the Eastern Star is a female group of Freemasonry, but oh damn, that coffee's good. But you can be a male. You can be a man and join the Eastern Star. So when there's an Eastern Star chapter or a lodge, they usually meet in a blue lodge, a Freemason lodge. And it'll be like mostly girls. There'll probably be like 30 Eastern Star girls, and then there'll be like two or three guys. But I think a lot of people think Eastern Star is only for women. It predominantly is, but sometimes there are a few obviously you have to be a Freemason to be in the Eastern Star. You can't just go, I want to be in the Eastern Star, and that's it. You have to go through your Enter Apprentice, Fellowcraft. You have to be a Master Mason to be in the Eastern Star, just like all the other appendant bodies, like Scottish Rite and York Rite, Shriners, was it the trees of Lebanon or something? I've been kind of researching that. Trees of Lebanon, the East Coast. So, anyways, yeah. So I think it was her mom that was psychic, or it was on the other side. I forget. It's so confusing, but I have a lot of that in my family. So when you have a lot of masonry and that kind of spiritualism in your family, and you become Eastern Orthodox, you're kind of changing your trajectory of your life and your spirituality. So I think that's why I had such a kind of like a rough years is becoming Eastern Orthodoxy. It's like a fucking nuclear bomb to, you have all these Masonic people in your family. You have a certain way of occultism and masonry and spirituality, and you're like, it's like apples and oranges, two different kinds of spirituality. So when you have have all this orange spirituality of oranges in all your life, and then all of a sudden you become Eastern Orthodox and you're charismated, and now you're apples, or whatever the other way around, however you want to word it. Apples could be occult, or oranges could be the other way. I don't care, but it's kind of you're changing trajectory of life, and this is how it is also when you become sober. You're drinking, you're going to be an alcoholic your entire life, and then when you get into a program, you stop drinking alcohol. I've went live on this. I'm going to just make a quick chart. So you're gonna be an alcoholic. You're gonna be an alcoholic your entire life, right? You're just going this way of alcoholism, and all of a sudden you get sober, in your late 20s or something, and you start going the other way, a different trajectory. So what happens, even though you're going this way, like part of your existence and your being is like still over here. So this is like still kind of pulling you. So this is why it could feel awkward or uncomfortable. Same with Eastern Orthodoxy. So your life, your family line, your spirituality, everything is like on this side, like the Masonic, whatever, Protestant spirituality path. So you're on this side, and then you become Eastern Orthodox, and you start going over here. But even though you're going over here, you still feel the gravitational pull of the other life that you were supposed to live. And that's what could cause maybe some friction or something. So, all right, that's it. That's all I got. That's my freestyle live. Just me going into the topics. 2:00. I'm gonna be cracking open. Sometimes I don't know. It's like I should be working on my music project, but I just not sure if I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna work on it today, but sometimes I end up procrastinating and start working on music, later on at night, like 9:00, 10:00 at night. But music, like I was talking to my buddy Chris, music is like a job. You treat your career, you're an influencer or whatever, you have business or whatever, you treat it like a fucking job. So it's like I'm gonna turn on my Apple iMac and I'm gonna be working on this song for 3 to 4 hours, but I do have to take her for a W and I have to go for a jog. It's not unbelievably hot today, so I will be going for a jog. You're licking your paws, Ginger. Yeah. What are you doing? Got your ears up, Ginger. Look at your little ears go up. Look at your wrist. You have your paw like that. Look at your paw. You're not an old dog. You don't lick your paw, girl. You're a young girl. Okay, so I'm gonna take her for a W. So yeah, what I think I'm gonna do is I might go for a jog first, and then work on music after. Take for a W. I got to tune my guitar up. Yeah, I'm glad though. I'm glad I'm able to work on music. I'm glad I have so many projects I'm working on right now, and then I have a lot of music that is being published. So it's good stuff, man. It's fun. All right, you guys have a great day. Have a blessed day. Have a good one. Here. God bless you.